Cyrus Brooks is Vice President of the Church of Scientology in Australia. Has released some information today about the concerns in the community of drug taking, in particular the rise of drug taking, of ecstasy, the party drug. And he joins us on the line. Cyrus, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
You're concerned mostly about New Year's Eve parties and those sorts of things, which you say the celebrations go beyond alcohol. Yeah,
well, that's right. I mean, as far as the drugs go, you have the number 2 illicit drug after cannabis is ecstasy.
Yeah.
And you got it at the clubs because it's really found its way into the rave and the party scene and dance scene, which is a real shame. And you've also find it at music festivals like Stonefest and even at places like the Summer Nationals. And so the drug itself, it's quite dangerous because of things that it will do to a person, especially in the long term.
When you read about those who are involved in the manufacture of it, and the stakes are quite high, so it would suggest that the customers out there are many. There are many people prepared to take a punt on this one.
Oh, absolutely. It's and that's the sad thing about that it's kind of made to look that it's not very dangerous. But if you talk to just any person who's used it for a while, it seems like they all have stories. They just ended up in the hospital, didn't know how they got there, or all of them talk about the connection to depression. Because it is, the name is methyldioxymethamphetamine, and we know amphetamines, just like ice and other things, also lead to there's the great high, but then there's the great low, and that's where the depression sits in.
The Church of Scientology is against all stimulants, is it?
No, we're not against, medical drugs.
But coffee and... alcohol and those stimulants.
Well, generally speaking, probably Scientologists don't drink very much, but
no.
It's not against the religion. Certainly, I have a cup of tea in front of me right now.
Yeah.
But we try to maintain a healthy lifestyle and not have those drugs get in the way. I think you were talking about having a glass of wine before.
I was, yes. It had nothing to do with what we're going to do now.
That's right.
It wasn't meant as any sort of segue. So the church has a branch of people educating those who might fall into the trap of ecstasy and the like?
That's exactly right. In the local area in Canberra, we've given out over the last 4 years about 30,000 anti-drug booklets to youth and to parents.
Do you do these at events like Summer Nats, for example?
Yeah. We'll do it either there or we'll do it on the day to get people visiting those events because people come from all over. And we're actually, it's well received because the key point here is that, drug taking doesn't equal drug knowledge. You may, know the experience of the drug, but you don't necessarily know what the drug is, what really it's made out of, especially ecstasy, which can be cut or mixed with many things. And also the long-term effects. Person after person, they tell us, I never learned this in school, I never knew this, and so we get lots of really good, lots of good feedback from both young people and teachers.
Do you feel as though if you put the Church of Scientology anywhere near what you're pushing, that there's a reluctance to take their literature on drugs?
I think
because people feel as though that they're being there's something to that. There are strings attached.
I thought that there might have been, but when I've been out there for about 10 years on this, and actually only maybe 2 out of 100 actually have any problem with it. So most people, I think maybe they're familiar with churches actually being involved in this sector because a lot of them are.
Oh, true, but I just think it'd be fair to say that you haven't had a good year PR-wise. In Australia, so that's something that you need to work hard on, isn't it?
Yeah, well,
you don't need me to tell you that.
No. I think the key thing is that you got to stay true to yourself and your integrity. Like when I go out there, I don't go out there because I'm trying to PR about something else. I have to be honest with myself and say, this is for young people, this is for teachers, this is for parents. Help them to get educated, and as long as you're really sincere, then you're doing the right thing, and that's what's important.
There clinics or rehab centres that you are funding or are involved with that bring people in?
Well, there is. There's nothing that brings anyone into the Church of Scientology. We do support
funded by the church.
Well, we do actually. Scientologists actually support a group called Narconon, right, which is a secular organization. But that's based on the L. Ron Hubbard's like drug rehabilitation research, and it's quite successful. There's a big one in Melbourne, but that itself isn't controlled by the church, but a lot of Scientologists sponsor it.
Yeah. L. Ron Hubbard, what were the basics in regard to the drug use as far as philosophies spread by L. Ron Hubbard? Was that a major part of the platform?
Well, basically, I mean, I think that what he said is pretty logical and also agreeable to many people. It's like the thing that is drug use is caused by many things, and L. Ron Hubbard said, if somebody for thousands of years, if somebody hasn't been able to find a solution to their pain, he will eventually find drugs. And I think anyone can agree with that. And this is why you have to not just do drug education like what I'm doing here, and not just drug rehabilitation, but you also have to work in many fields, like help a person with their personal problems and help them with their life problems, so they can be achieving things in life. And you got to have a lot of things going at the same time, because any one of these things could lead to drugs.
So it'd be fair to say then at the centre of being a Scientologist is being positive and decent and healthy and those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's right. And also, like you said, decent. You have to do something in the community. You can't just be involved in like our own group or your own family. I mean, you may do that at the beginning, just if you're trying to handle yourself. You've just come into Scientology. You might find Scientology helps you in your life. But then eventually you go, okay, well, I've been helped. Now I need to help somebody else. And that's part of the kind of a bit like a part of the obligation of being a Scientologist.
How do you deal with the people who have been involved in the organisation who leave and are unhappy and want to tell the story of manipulation and control?
Well,
that's what I mentioned before. There have been a few in the last year, haven't there?
Well, I mean, there's been people that have said things, and for me, it's like I'm willing to talk to those people and come to some resolution of whatever their upset is. I think you have to. I think that's just you got to be willing to work with people and resolve whatever their upset is, and just come to some kind of conclusion, because they need to get on with their life as well, just as much as we need to get on with ours.
But one of the allegations they make that it's a cult. You are controlled by somebody.
No, I mean, look,
which gives it a sinister sort of tone, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, Christianity was a cult 2,000 years ago, and now it's that word is really just a pejorative. It's really a person needs to be strong in themselves and decide for themselves if they want to be a Scientologist or a Catholic or this kind of thing. And so the thing is, you got to actually teach a person to be self-determined and self-reliant, so that they can make their own choice, because it doesn't do any good to have a Scientologist who is a Scientologist for other reasons than they want to be one. And I don't think it does any good for any group for someone just to be there because their parents said so, or because anybody else, said that they're going to go to hell if they don't, or something like this. It's like a person has to decide for themselves. Where
do they go to? Where do Scientologists believe they go to when they die?
Well, Scientologists believe that a person goes and basically into a new body. In other words, a reincarnation.
So there's a spirit involved somewhere.
That's right.
The essence of a person.
Yeah, we believe that. Exactly right. The essence of the person is the person. We think that the spiritual being is the person, and just like the Greeks said, like there's a spirit clothed in flesh, and that's how we carry out our existence today. And the body, mind, spirit, and the mind part that was pretty much the beginning of everything for us.
So it's reincarnation, and you just keep going around.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, you're trying to find your own salvation, so it's a bit more of an Eastern philosophy than leaning to the West. Yeah.
All right, Cyrus, good to talk to you. I know we started off on ecstasy, but we moved on to other things, but that's okay.
All right, great. Talk
Thanks
to you
for your
again
time.
another time.
Cyrus, Vice President of the Church of Scientology and a member of the Free Ambassadors Australia, which is a group which gives information on the perils of drug abuse. It's almost 5 to 4. This is The Drive Show, 6255 4444. Back to the aforementioned Catholic.